What if the world's most expensive painting wasn't just a work of art, but a coded message about humanity's connection to the cosmos? Imagine stepping into a place that looks more like a spaceship than a museum. A vast dome pierced by beams of light streaming through thousands of geometric stars. This is the Louvre Abu Dhabi, an architectural marvel, built upon 7,800 interlocking star-shaped designs that cast celestial patterns across its interior. And here, in this futuristic setting, rests Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, the painting that shook the art world when it sold for an astonishing $400 million. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. From the very first glance, this museum seems more than just a gallery. It feels like an invitation to step into mystery. Its starry dome resembles a massive floating disk, almost as if it were designed to mirror the heavens above. Has this ever happened to you? You walk into a place and instantly feel like you're standing at the threshold of something greater, something that hints at secrets beyond our ordinary world. Stay with me until the end, because the story of this painting and its unlikely home may surprise you. When Salvator Mundi was first unveiled here, many wondered why such a traditional depiction of Christ, centuries old, was placed in the most modern, almost otherworldly museum on Earth. What could this Renaissance image of Jesus holding a transparent crystal orb mean in such a cosmic setting? The orb itself seems to radiate questions. Is it a symbol of divine authority, a reference to the universe, or perhaps a message encrypted by Leonardo himself? What you're about to discover might challenge the way you see both art and history. The museum's design and the painting's enigmatic details are not coincidences when viewed through the lens of those who believe in hidden knowledge. The dome projects starlight into its interior, and the orb in Christ's hand captures that same cosmic essence. Could Leonardo da Vinci, centuries ahead of his time, have been trying to show us that the sacred and the celestial are inseparably intertwined? Could he have understood that light and geometry are keys to something far beyond human comprehension? The Louvre Abu Dhabi becomes more than just the backdrop for the Salvator Mundi. It transforms into part of the narrative itself. The stars etched into the museum's structure echo the same mystery contained within the painting. To some, it feels as though both the building and the masterpiece are aligned, deliberately placed together to ignite questions about our origins and our destiny. And this alignment invites us to consider, are we simply looking at art, or are we being asked to decode a message left across time? Leonardo's works have always carried an aura of secrecy, a sense that beneath the brushstrokes lies something hidden, waiting to be uncovered. In Salvator Mundi, the piercing gaze of Christ mirrors the enigmatic smile of the Mona Lisa, both seeming to hold secrets they are not quite ready to reveal. The crystal orb, however, is different. It pulls our attention like a magnet, a transparent sphere that almost dares us to see beyond what is visible. In a museum designed to channel the heavens, the orb becomes more than paint on canvas. It becomes a symbol of light, knowledge, and perhaps contact with something greater than ourselves. As the camera pans across the museum's glittering dome and rests upon the painting, one cannot escape the feeling that Leonardo's work was destined for this setting. It is as though the stars above and the stars within the dome are in conversation with the stars painted into the orb. A connection forms between art, architecture, and the cosmos itself. A connection Leonardo may have understood centuries before science or philosophy could explain it. And if that is true, then perhaps this painting was never meant to be hidden away in private collections, but revealed here, where its mysteries could finally resonate under a dome of stars. Stay with me, because this is just the beginning. In the next part, we will go deeper into the orb, into the symbolism hidden within its glowing transparency, and into the possibility that Leonardo da Vinci may have been encoding truths not only about Christ, but about the very origins of humanity itself. And if you enjoy exploring these hidden truths and powerful revelations with me, make sure to subscribe. That way, every new video becomes part of your journey too, always bringing you fresh insights and perspectives to keep expanding your mind. When Jean Nouvel envisioned the Louvre Abu Dhabi, he didn't just design a museum, he created a stage for mystery, a vast dome hovering over the water, pierced by beams of light that shift throughout the day, feels less like architecture and more like an encounter. The choice to make it resemble a cosmic vessel wasn't accidental. It sparks questions that go beyond design. It's as if the very structure is whispering about connections between earth and sky, between human ambition and something far greater. This mindset of wonder shapes how we perceive what rests inside. Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi. Placed within this futuristic sanctuary, the painting takes on an entirely different resonance. Instead of being confined to the past, it seems alive in the present, ready to speak to us with a voice that transcends time. The delicate brushstrokes of a Renaissance master find themselves bathed in star-like light, and suddenly a traditional religious image becomes something else, an object that pushes us to reimagine the boundaries between faith, science, and hidden truth. The decision to showcase this artwork here feels deliberate, almost like an alignment between the ancient and the modern, between Da Vinci's secrets and humanity's ongoing journey of discovery. At the center of it all lies the orb. Transparent, fragile, yet impossibly magnetic, it captures attention as if it holds more than light within its surface. In the gaze of Christ and the perfection of that sphere, there's an invitation to look deeper, to see not just paint and glass but a symbol of transformation. For some it represents divine authority, for others a cosmic code, and for many it is the spark that ignites new questions about knowledge, hidden in plain sight. Think about it. 5 centuries ago, Da Vinci placed this sphere in the hands of Christ. Why? What decision guided him to embed such a striking, almost otherworldly element in an otherwise traditional portrait? Behind the scenes of this painting lies a world of speculation that touches on philosophy, spirituality, and even the possibility of contact with dimensions we cannot yet explain. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the fascination doesn't end with the orb itself. Its presence within the painting opens a door to revelations about symbols, cosmic alignments, and the way art has always carried messages meant to outlast the times in which it was created. Before we step through that door together, I'd love for you to write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Share it if the connection between art, mystery, and transformation resonates with you, because when different perspectives meet, new insights emerge, and that's where the real impact begins. When William Henry first presented his ideas in 2017, he wasn't just offering another interpretation of Salvator Mundi. He was opening a door to an entirely different way of seeing Leonardo's legacy. He suggested that the painter's final works were not simply religious icons, but carefully encoded messages pointing toward something much larger than the framework of Renaissance Christianity. For Henry, Da Vinci was not only an artist, but a messenger, weaving into his brushstrokes clues about a hidden truth that transcends culture, faith, and even time itself. It's a bold mindset, one that challenges us to question whether the boundaries we take for granted are as rigid as we believe. Henry drew a fascinating parallel between the gaze of Christ in Salvator Mundi and the enigmatic smile of the Mona Lisa. Both carry that unmistakable quality of being both present and elusive, as though they're observing us from a dimension just beyond reach. This subtle play of expression feels deliberate, as if Da Vinci knew how to create faces that weren't simply portraits but mirrors reflecting questions back at the viewer. And when we lean closer, we feel as though the painting is asking us to reconsider not just art, but the very journey of human understanding. Then comes the orb. Henry identified it as the legendary Chintamani stone, a Buddhist jewel said to grant wishes and to appear in the hands of enlightened beings. Suddenly, the connection between East and West takes center stage. What was this Eastern relic doing in the hands of Christ, as painted by a Renaissance Catholic? Was Leonardo hinting that wisdom is not owned by one tradition, but is universal, spread across cultures like fragments of a larger revelation? Behind the scenes of history, ideas traveled along forgotten roads, silk routes, manuscripts, whispered philosophies. Could Leonardo have accessed these stories, weaving them into his masterpiece as a bridge between civilizations? The impact of this interpretation is immense. If the orb truly symbolizes the Chintamani, then Salvator Mundi is no longer just a Christian image. It becomes a declaration of unity, a statement that divine knowledge is scattered like stars across different traditions, waiting for us to piece together. It shifts the way we think about transformation, showing that art can collapse boundaries and invite us into a mindset of curiosity, connection, and openness. This isn't just about Leonardo, it's about decisions we make as humans to seek knowledge wherever it hides, to embrace the idea that truth often lives in the spaces where cultures overlap. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because within the orb itself lies more than symbolic beauty. There are details that hint at constellations, alignments, and cosmic origins that link human destiny to the stars. Before we explore that hidden layer, I'd like to hear your perspective. Write in the comments, "I'm also on this path." Share it. If you too feel that art can be more than beauty, that it can be a map guiding us through mysteries far greater than ourselves. The meaning of the orb deepens when we consider its linguistic roots. Mani as jewel and Shinta as wish combine into the Chintamani, the jewel that grants wishes, a symbol not only of desire but of fulfillment, of the bridge between longing and realization. In Buddhist tradition, figures like Ksitigarbha are often shown carrying this radiant sphere, a light that travels across the 6 realms of existence, transcending barriers of space, time, and even death. To see Christ holding the same kind of orb is more than coincidence. It suggests that Da Vinci may have been pointing us toward a universal current of wisdom, a hidden truth running beneath the surface of religions and cultures. It is as if he wanted us to recognize that enlightenment does not belong to one tradition alone, but emerges wherever humanity dares to look deeper. But then comes the question that changes everything. How could a Renaissance Catholic in the 15th century know about a Buddhist symbol from centuries earlier? It is here that speculation grows louder. Some say Da Vinci accessed texts or stories that arrived in Europe through trade, translations, or travelers. Others believe he tapped into a more mysterious source, a kind of knowledge not of this world, perhaps revealed through encounters beyond what we can explain. This idea may sound extraordinary, yet Da Vinci's entire life was extraordinary, an endless pursuit of what lay behind the scenes, what others overlooked, what waited just beyond the limits of ordinary perception. His mindset was never confined to the norms of his time. He pushed boundaries, made decisions that defied tradition, and searched for revelations where no one else dared to look. And then, when we look closely at the orb itself, we find 3 tiny white points inside its crystal surface. To some, they are simply artistic touches, but, to Henry, they symbolize something far more profound. The 3 union stars, an alignment that connects the image of Christ not just to earth but to the heavens. The placement recalls Orion's belt, one of the most striking constellations in the night sky, a formation revered by ancient civilizations for its precision, symmetry, and mystery. Could Leonardo have been hinting at a cosmic origin, suggesting through art that humanity's story is tied to the stars? The impact of this possibility is immense, for it shifts the painting from sacred portrait to coded map, guiding us toward questions of where we come from and what forces have shaped our journey as a species. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we explore the symbolic link between Orion, resurrection myths, and Da Vinci's art, the picture begins to reveal layers of meaning that feel almost impossible to dismiss. Before moving forward, share your thoughts with me. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Tell me if you too feel that symbols scattered across traditions might be fragments of a much greater story waiting to be pieced together. When those 3 luminous points inside the orb are linked to Orion's belt, the painting takes on a completely new dimension. Orion has always fascinated humanity. Its alignment with the pyramids of Giza in Egypt and the temples of Teotihuacan in Mexico suggests that ancient civilizations across oceans and centuries were drawn to the same cosmic markers. Was this just coincidence, or a hidden truth embedded in human history? The precision is too striking to dismiss lightly. These alignments point to a pattern, a mindset shared by cultures who believed the stars were not distant lights, but guides, reminders of origins and destiny. To see this constellation reflected in Christ's crystal sphere feels deliberate, as if Da Vinci was quietly weaving our earthly monuments and heavenly coordinates into a single canvas. The Egyptians believed Osiris, god of resurrection, came from Orion and returned there after death. This myth wasn't just a story, it was their foundation for understanding life, rebirth, and the soul's journey. If Jesus is shown holding a sphere echoing Orion, then perhaps Da Vinci wanted to suggest that the Christian narrative of resurrection and the Egyptian myth of Osiris were two reflections of the same cosmic drama. It's a revelation that challenges us to rethink divisions between faiths, hinting that the great stories of humanity are threads in one tapestry. Behind the scenes, Leonardo may have been gathering fragments of these traditions, blending them with precision into a message that could outlast dogma and survive centuries, waiting for eyes ready to notice. And here's where the interpretation takes an even more daring turn. If Osiris came from Orion, and if Jesus' symbolism points in that same direction, what does that imply about us? Could it mean that humanity itself carries within its essence a link to that constellation, that our very origins are cosmic rather than purely terrestrial? This speculation pushes the boundaries of what we accept as history, yet it resonates deeply with the human fascination for the stars. We have always looked upward, searching for meaning, for direction, for signs of where we come from. The impact of this possibility is profound. It reframes our journey as a species, transforming us from earthbound creatures into participants in a larger cosmic story. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once we follow the trail from Orion to the myths of resurrection, and finally to Da Vinci's own vision, a network of connections begins to emerge. Connections that speak not only to art, but to our destiny. Before we continue unraveling these revelations, share your feeling with me. Put down in the comments, "I'm also on this path." Write it if you sense, like many before us, that our story is bigger than what is written in history books, and that the stars might hold more answers than we've dared to imagine. When Henry speaks of the orb as a symbol of a superior intelligence, the idea resonates like a thread weaving through time. The notion that Christ, Osiris, and even Da Vinci himself could serve as mediators of a higher consciousness forces us to rethink the boundaries we've set between myth, religion, and art. It's almost as if Da Vinci wanted us to understand that knowledge is not confined to books or sermons but flows from an intelligence that permeates everything, an unseen presence that quietly guides human transformation. This perspective reframes the painting, not simply as a portrait of Christ, but as a portal to reflect on the impact of forces larger than ourselves, forces that seem to be shaping our journey behind the scenes. The more we trace these connections, the clearer it becomes why ancient astronaut theorists believe Da Vinci may have been encoding extraterrestrial knowledge into his work. To them, the details are not random artistic flourishes but deliberate signals, waiting to be unlocked centuries later. Think about the mindset required for that, painting not only for his time, but for the distant future, trusting that one day humanity would be ready to uncover the hidden truth he left behind. It feels less like art and more like a message sealed in paint and light, designed to outlast the decay of centuries. And if this is true, then Da Vinci was not only a painter but also a visionary who dared to embed revelations about our place in the cosmos into his final works. In 1513, Da Vinci settled in Amboise, France, at the Château du Clos Lucé, the place where his last years unfolded. Surrounded by notes, inventions, and unfinished projects, he began what would become his final painting. The context matters. This was not the energetic young inventor of Florence or Milan, but an older Leonardo, reflecting on a lifetime of decisions, experiments, and discoveries. Every brushstroke now carried the weight of his entire journey, a summation of the knowledge he had gathered. To imagine him in those years is to picture a man aware that his time was running short, yet still determined to capture truths that words could never hold. This last phase of his life feels like a transformation in itself, from genius to sage, from innovator to guardian of secrets meant for generations yet to come. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the painting he produced in that period reveals more than religious devotion. It unveils symbols of light, resurrection, and a direct link to realms beyond the visible. But before we peel back those layers, share with me your perspective. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Add it if you feel that art can carry more than beauty, that it can hold the code of hidden knowledge, guiding us quietly toward revelations we are only beginning to understand. When Leonardo finally unveiled St. John the Baptist, 3 years after beginning it, the painting carried with it an energy unlike anything he had created before. The figure, androgynous and mysterious, emerges from the shadows with an almost ethereal presence. It's as if Leonardo intentionally blurred the lines of identity, suggesting that John represents more than a single historical figure. He becomes a symbol of transformation, a bridge between human and divine, matter and spirit. The decision to paint him in such a way feels deliberate, pointing to a hidden truth about the universality of wisdom and the duality within every human being. What makes the portrait even more fascinating is the role of light. Observers have noted that in a dimly lit space, the painting seems to disappear into the darkness, almost invisible. But the moment a candle is lit, the figure begins to glow, illuminated in a way that feels both natural and otherworldly. This effect is more than artistic technique. It's a metaphor. Light piercing darkness has always symbolized revelation, the moment when ignorance gives way to knowledge, when secrecy yields to truth. It suggests that hidden knowledge is not meant to remain concealed forever. It simply waits for the right illumination, for the right mindset to bring it into view. And then there is John's gesture, unmistakable and loaded with meaning, his finger pointing upward. That single movement becomes a declaration. I come from the light. It tells us that wisdom originates from another realm, a source that transcends earthly experience. Leonardo captures this moment with precision, and suddenly the painting is no longer just a portrait, but a coded message. Behind the scenes of the canvas, Da Vinci is hinting at a reality in which divine wisdom is not distant but constantly reaching out, guiding those who choose to see beyond appearances. The impact of this becomes even more striking when we reflect on Leonardo's life at this stage. In his later years, surrounded by sketches, notes, and reflections, he seemed consumed by questions of mortality, eternity, and the destiny of the soul. His art became less about the external world and more about inner revelations, as though he was distilling a lifetime of discoveries into symbolic images. St. John the Baptist feels like the culmination of this journey, a portrait not only of a prophet, but of light itself breaking through the boundaries of darkness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because John's gesture and the symbolism of light open the door to questions about how Leonardo embedded these messages for future generations. Before we take that step, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Share it if you believe that art can hold more than beauty, that it can carry wisdom meant to awaken us when the time is right. Leonardo's work begins to reveal its true nature when we see it not as static art, but as a living code, designed for people far beyond his own era. His brushstrokes act like messages, sealed in time, waiting patiently for future minds to decode them. This isn't just speculation. It reflects a mindset of someone who understood the impact of his creations would stretch across centuries. The idea that he painted for the future, embedding extraordinary secrets for generations yet unborn, shifts our entire perspective. It's no longer simply about admiring a masterpiece. It's about engaging with a hidden dialogue that Leonardo initiated long before we arrived. This is why so many describe his paintings as portals, doorways that allow us glimpses of another dimension where the real Leonardo may still reside, not as a man, but as a consciousness imprinted into pigment and light. When you think of it this way, his art transforms into a kind of map, guiding us through layers of meaning beyond the surface, toward revelations we didn't know we were searching for. The effect is subtle, but powerful, as if behind the scenes of every portrait and symbol he painted lies an invitation to cross the boundary between the visible and the invisible. That sense of crossing boundaries becomes even more tangible with what researchers discovered when they mirrored St. John the Baptist. By digitally flipping the image to create a symmetrical double, a new figure seemed to emerge, a face unlike any known subject, with features some interpreted as alien. Whether or not one accepts this as literal evidence, the discovery adds a striking layer to the conversation. It suggests Leonardo might have used symmetry not just as an artistic tool, but as a key, a way of embedding hidden images only visible to those who knew how to look. Such a decision would be completely in line with his obsession for codes, anatomy, and the geometry of nature. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because this mirrored image is not just a curiosity. It opens up questions about how far Leonardo's knowledge reached and whether his paintings are more like encrypted messages than traditional works of art. Before we continue peeling back these layers, write in the comments, "I'm also on this path." Add it if you feel that behind the beauty of these masterpieces, there might be a network of signs waiting to be uncovered, a hidden truth guiding us to see the world and ourselves differently. Leonardo's habit of working with mirror image techniques wasn't just an eccentric quirk, it was part of his entire worldview. He saw the world as a set of reflections, nature reflecting the heavens, the body reflecting the soul, art reflecting hidden truths. By painting and writing in reverse, he invited those who studied his work to engage actively, to shift their mindset from passive viewing to decoding. That's why the idea of a concealed face within the symmetry of St. John the Baptist feels less like a conspiracy and more like a plausible extension of his genius. He knew that by embedding such details, he was creating layers of meaning that would challenge viewers long after his own lifetime, transforming art into a living puzzle meant to awaken curiosity. This is where the documentary expands its scope, tracing a lineage of art as a conduit to higher beings. From the carved walls of Egypt, to the illuminated manuscripts of early Christianity to the vibrant thangkas of Tibet, creative expression has always been more than decoration. It has served as a channel for revelations, a bridge between the material and the immaterial, a way for ordinary people to access extraordinary dimensions. The impact of this idea is powerful because it reframes history itself. What if the great works of art were not simply about beauty or devotion, but about encoding knowledge from beyond our world? It suggests that every brushstroke, every symbol, might carry an echo of contact with something greater. Leonardo appears as the natural heir to this tradition, consciously embedding codes and symbols into his paintings for those with eyes to see. This decision reflects a profound sense of responsibility. He wasn't just creating for patrons or posterity, but for seekers, for people capable of perceiving layers beneath the obvious. Behind the scenes of his canvases, Da Vinci may have been constructing a map of transformation, an invitation to rethink what art can do and what truths it can hold. His work becomes less a static masterpiece and more a dynamic journey, drawing viewers into a mindset where decoding the hidden truth is part of the experience. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because if art truly functions as a bridge between worlds, then Leonardo's paintings may not only be messages, but actual doorways, thresholds into ideas and revelations we're only beginning to grasp. Before we explore that threshold together, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Share it if you've ever felt that certain works of art seem to speak directly to you, as if they were crafted to spark recognition across centuries. The question of whether Leonardo da Vinci might have experienced an encounter beyond this world isn't just a sensational idea thrown in for effect. It becomes the quiet heartbeat of the entire narrative. It lingers because his work doesn't behave like ordinary art. It behaves like a living archive, carrying hints of knowledge that seem to reach beyond the time and place in which he lived. When you consider his inventions, his anatomical studies, his fascination with flight, and his ability to anticipate scientific discoveries centuries before they happened, the possibility begins to feel less like fantasy and more like a hidden truth disguised in genius. This mindset, one that embraces curiosity without fear, turns speculation into a doorway, urging us to explore what lies behind the scenes of history, rather than settling for the surface story. Ancient astronaut theorists go even further. For them, the evidence is not scattered coincidence, but deliberate pattern. They argue that Leonardo accessed knowledge that had once been forbidden or lost, and that he didn't merely study it, he preserved it in plain sight, encoded in paintings, sketches, and symbols. This perspective reframes him as a kind of bridge between worlds, a man who stood at the edge of human potential and reached for something higher. It's a vision of Da Vinci not just as artist or inventor, but as messenger, embedding revelations for those ready to see. The impact of this view is enormous, because it suggests that the works we admire as masterpieces may also be keys, tools to unlock a larger story about where we come from and who we really are. And here lies the most provocative thread of all. If understanding these codes truly reveals humanity's origins, then Da Vinci's paintings could be far more than artistic achievements. They could be maps, guiding us through a journey of self-discovery at a species level, leading us toward decisions that might shape our collective future. In this light, his art becomes transformative, not simply by inspiring awe, but by inviting a shift in mindset, from passive admiration to active decoding, from seeing beauty to seeking meaning. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the possibility that our destiny and Da Vinci's hidden messages are intertwined opens questions about the very nature of human evolution, consciousness, and the unseen forces that may have influenced our path. Before we move further into these revelations, write in the comments, "I'm also on this path." Share it if you feel that exploring these connections awakens something in you, a sense that behind every symbol there might be a story waiting for us to rediscover. The architecture of the Louvre Abu Dhabi adds yet another layer to this intricate tapestry of meanings. Its starry dome, designed to cast shifting constellations of light into the museum's interior, feels like an intentional echo of Da Vinci's own symbolism. When we place Salvator Mundi beneath this cosmic canopy, the connection becomes almost too precise to ignore. The dome above and the orb in Christ's hand mirror one another, as if the building itself was chosen to amplify the painting's message. It is not just art meeting architecture. It is a deliberate alignment of symbols, reinforcing the impression that both are speaking the same language of the stars. The transparent orb takes on extraordinary significance here. On one level, it conveys divine authority, a visual cue of Christ's role as Savior. But, within the context of cosmic imagery, it stretches further, becoming a symbol of interstellar heritage. In this reading, Christ is not simply the Redeemer of humanity, but also a cosmic messenger, carrying truths that transcend earthly boundaries. This interpretation transforms the painting from devotional image to coded statement, a reminder that the divine and the universal are one and the same. It pushes us to think of revelation not as something bound to one time, one faith, or one culture, but as something universal, woven into the very structure of existence. The alignment with Orion intensifies this theme. Just as Osiris in Egyptian tradition was said to descend from Orion and return there after resurrection, the image of Christ holding the orb suggests a parallel myth playing out across cultures. Two great narratives, Egyptian and Christian, reflecting one another like mirrors, both pointing to a celestial origin and a promise of return. Behind the scenes of these traditions lies a hidden truth. Humanity has always sought to explain its journey by looking upward, mapping its destiny onto the stars. Da Vinci seems to have recognized this and distilled it into a single, haunting image. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once we see the orb as both divine emblem and cosmic code, the question arises, was Leonardo revealing that our greatest spiritual figures were also part of a larger interstellar story? Before we explore that possibility, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Add it if you feel that the intersection between myth, art, and cosmic symbolism points to something far more profound than coincidence. The Chintamani stone, described in ancient texts as traveling through the 6 realms, begins to feel less like a myth and more like a key to understanding Da Vinci's orb. It's as if the sphere in Christ's hand is not only a symbol of divine power, but also a cosmic passport, hinting at multidimensional travel and the possibility of movement between realms of existence. This interpretation doesn't reduce the spiritual to science fiction. Instead, it expands the spiritual into a universal language, where symbols can carry meanings about consciousness, transformation, and journeys far beyond what we can see. The impact of this reading is profound, because it invites us to imagine that Leonardo wasn't simply painting a religious motif, but encoding a vision of humanity's greater potential, a vision of what lies behind the scenes of our everyday reality. There's a more grounded way to look at this, of course. During the Renaissance, Europe was already opening up to knowledge from the East. Secretly copied manuscripts, travelers' stories, and whispered ideas flowed along the same trade routes that carried silk and spices. Leonardo was a voracious learner, a man whose mindset was wired to absorb and reinterpret everything he encountered. It's entirely possible that fragments of Eastern philosophy and Buddhist symbolism reached him through these channels, influencing his decisions as he composed his final works. If so, the orb becomes a testament to the blending of cultures, a sign that wisdom is not owned by one tradition, but shared across humanity like scattered constellations waiting to be connected. Yet the thought lingers that perhaps this wasn't only a product of books or travelers. The show dares to lean into the possibility of intelligences beyond Earth, suggesting that Leonardo's insight might have been sparked by contact with knowledge far outside the scope of his time. This is not presented as proof but as an invitation to consider how far-reaching his revelations truly were. If he painted Christ holding a symbol of cosmic travel and resurrection, was he also leaving clues about our own origins, our own destiny woven among the stars? Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because when we look at the orb through the lens of multidimensional travel and hidden knowledge, new patterns begin to emerge that challenge our perception of history itself. Before we explore those patterns, write in the comments, "I'm also on this path." Add it if you sense that behind art, myths, and symbols, there may be a single story unfolding, one that connects us all across time and space. Mirror imaging, when seen as more than a playful trick, transforms Da Vinci's paintings into something like a living cipher. It reveals patterns invisible to casual viewers, shapes and alignments that only emerge when the image is flipped and studied from a different perspective. This technique, presented as Leonardo's hidden code, invites us to approach his art the way we might approach a mystery, slowly, patiently, willing to shift our mindset and question what we assume to be obvious. It's an act of decoding that mirrors our own inner journey. When we're willing to look from another angle, entire worlds of hidden truth come into view. The mirrored image of St. John the Baptist has become almost legendary among those who study these symbols. Where one person sees a doubling of a prophet, another sees the contours of a face unlike any known human figure. To some, it is nothing but chance. To others, it is evidence that Leonardo left literal portraits of otherworldly beings woven into his canvases. Whether or not one accepts that conclusion, the effect is undeniable. It makes the viewer feel that the painting itself is aware of being watched, as if Da Vinci constructed not only an image but a conversation across centuries, daring us to see what lies behind the scenes of his brushstrokes. This interpretation elevates art from a static object to something far more dynamic, a medium for ordinary people to contact higher dimensions. In this view, Da Vinci's paintings become spiritual technology, designed not only to inspire, but to transform. They act like catalysts, sparking revelations in those who engage deeply with them. This is why his work continues to exert such impact across time. It's not just beauty or genius that holds us, it's the possibility that his art is reaching out, pulling us towards something beyond ourselves. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because if Leonardo's paintings are truly functioning as gateways, then every symbol, every subtle detail might be a signpost pointing toward a hidden architecture of reality. Before we move into that terrain, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Add it if You've ever felt that a work of art seemed to speak directly to you, as if it carried a message meant for your own journey of discovery. To view Leonardo as a bridge between past and future knowledge is to see him not simply as a man of his time, but as a channel for truths that refuse to stay locked in one era. Ancient astronaut theorists describe him as the Renaissance messenger for cosmic knowledge, a figure whose genius was less about invention alone and more about translation, transforming fragments of something vast into forms we could understand. In this sense, his paintings become more than masterpieces. They turn into living archives, carrying the resonance of ideas that reach far beyond the borders of the 15th century. It's an image of Da Vinci as both artist and conduit, drawing from currents of wisdom that predate him and projecting them forward like a beacon for generations yet to come. Decoding his symbols then becomes less an intellectual exercise and more a journey of transformation. Each discovery feels like a door opening into a hidden corridor of history, where myth and science, spirituality and technology converge. This is why the idea of hidden truth in his work holds such impact. It doesn't just rewrite art history, it reframes our own place within the larger story of existence. The mindset it invites is active, not passive. We are not only viewers, but participants in a puzzle designed to shift our perception of what is possible. Every detail, from the orb in Salvator Mundi to the mirrored face in St. John the Baptist, is like a breadcrumb on a trail leading us toward a destination we can sense but not yet fully name. And here lies the most compelling possibility of all, that understanding these hidden messages may not just illuminate the past, but help define humanity's future purpose. If Leonardo encoded fragments of a larger cosmic narrative, then every time we decipher one of his symbols, we're not just learning about him. We're learning about ourselves, about our origins, and about the journey still ahead. This perspective turns art into a compass, pointing beyond its frame toward a horizon of meaning we are only beginning to glimpse. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because standing at this threshold invites us to ask what might happen if humanity truly embraced these revelations and allowed them to reshape the way we think about history, destiny, and the forces guiding our evolution. Before we step further into that reflection, write in the comments, "I'm also on this path." Add it if you feel that uncovering these symbols is more than curiosity for you. It's part of your own search for connection and purpose in a much larger story. If you've stayed with me all the way until now, you know how powerful these ideas can be when we really let them sink in. That's why I'd love for you to subscribe, so you don't miss the next pieces of this journey we're uncovering together. And if you reached the end, let me know in the comments by writing, "I'm with you until the end." It's a simple way to mark that you're part of this exploration. Also, don't forget to leave a like. It helps me see that these conversations are creating the same sense of connection for you as they do for me. And since the path doesn't stop here, there's a video right here that complements this topic. Click and continue with me over there.